Welcome to the Performance Portfolio Podcast with Coop and Coop. Greg Cooper and Cooper Allen bridge the gap between performance and finance to help you build a stronger life and a more resilient future. Let's get into today's episode.
Coop, Men's Mental Health Month is over. We're into July, and man, it was a pretty impactful month to see Mentel and our team reach more than 1 million men. By the time it gets to July, it's going to be maybe close to two. Like as of June 29th, I know we were at like a 1,100,029. Like we were at a lot of men reach. So it was just such a cool thing to see that many men being heard, that many men taking part. And like as I was sharing, because I did daily videos, as I was sharing, I started tagging guys that I had like just met or like just connected with. And they were the ones that did it the fastest. And not like it was a race, but they were the ones that were like ready to like be part of something. And I was talking to Zach, who started Mentel, my brother, and he went, it's kind of off of a podcast we did a few weeks ago on, who's liking your stuff, your friends, your family, or the strangers. And it's like our friends and family are so used to seeing that content all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Greg's just doing his thing, or Zach's just doing his thing, or Coop's doing his thing. But then it was like the new people. So to see that shift and to see men really wanting to talk and the amount of women that joined in too, it was incredible, man. So I know you wanted to build off of that a bit, and you got a pretty cool topic for today. So what are we getting after?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure we'll have a few episodes about this because the topic of mental health, I think, is a big one when it comes to both your world of performance, my world of money. I think they're linked very closely in ways that maybe a lot of people don't realize. Uh, but for this episode specifically, I was curious to just pick your brain on you made a post every day about advice that you'd give to your younger self. And I was just curious to know whether it was advice that came from a couple things. Was it advice that came from a place of pulling yourself out of a dark time, or more so, because I feel like there's two sides to mental health. There's uh, proactive and reactive. So there's the reactive of I'm down in the dumps, I got to pull myself out, and then there's proactive of I'm going to take care of myself, keep myself healthy so that I don't dip as often. Uh, and then just curious, as you were creating that content of advice you'd give to your younger self, which pieces you felt maybe resonated the most with others, the ones that you liked. Because I mean, obviously, you when you create 30 good pieces of content, there's going to be two or three that you love more than others. So yeah, I just figured we'd have an open forum discussion of what seemed to hit for people, what didn't, and if there was any overlap between what hit for the masses versus what was really on your heart and worked for you. So um, yeah, no, I guess no real firm question, but more so just curious on your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, so fantastic question. So the first one I'll answer is, where they came from, what was the premise of them. It was a mixture of all. Like, yeah, it was advice that either I gave myself or I found reading or watching a video or talking to one of my coaches, mentors, or friends when I was, dealing with something that was heavy or frustrating or whatever the fact in that more reactive state, if you will. And then a lot of it too was like proactive things that I was told, especially early, like when I mean early, I mean like as I was leaving university, starting work and having to be an adult for the first time. It's like that, hey, yeah, that worked when you were a kid, that worked in high school, that worked in university when you had like a million fail safes to fall back on, right? Oh, I missed the deadline. Hey, professor, I was sick. No, I was hungover, but like can I get an extension, right? So, and then there was also stuff that was like straight up just said to me as a kid. Like I think my favorite one, not think I know my favorite one is my dad's advice that I give to everybody and I think about every day. It's, never do more than you're willing not to complain about. Like that piece, like when my dad said it to me the first time, I was like, what are you talking about? And then the example that I'll share with that on like how that advice stuck with me as a kid was we were going fishing with my grandpa and my great uncle, and my dad said, "You got to go get worms." And we lived on an acreage, so you didn't need to hunt for them. You just needed to dig after it rained and get some worms. But I had to get 100 worms. That was the deal. And there was something tied to it too, like I was gonna get a new fishing rod or something. But I had to get 100 worms, and I did. But I complained the whole time, and I did it like pretty half-assed. I got like I was counting like the smallest worms as a worm, not like good enough for fishing. Like you need good bait. And then I had to go dig like 80 more worms because I like was scraping the bottom of the barrel. And then dad went, "Do you like to fish?" I said, "Of course." Said, "Do you like to spend time with your grandpa and me and your great uncle? And you want a new fishing rod?" I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, you can't have all these things, complain about it, do a poor job, and then expect the results and expect everybody to clap for you. We're not going till tomorrow. You got the rest of the night. Have dinner and then go back out to the pit and get us some better worms." So that one was definitely my favorite. And then kind of covering a lot, but we'll tail it back to this. I think the most impactful one was, and I know it's the one that got the most reach, was the one I did with Jordan Guilford, my dear friend and founder of Gems for Gems, which is her charity that supports survivors of domestic abuse. And it was how important it is for men's mental health to support the incredible women in our life. And that stemmed one from that charity and who Jordan is, but more how many women started joining in on the conversation in Men's Mental Health Month, sharing their stories. I can't remember the woman's name, but she's a three-time survivor of suicide or survivor of suicide. Her son, her father, and her husband all committed suicide, and now she's an advocate in that space. But like that's heavy. That's a weight that nobody in the world knows how to handle, and she has carried it through. She's now an stout author, and she's a big advocate in that space. So that one I think definitely hit a lot of people differently than just like yeah the rah men stuff. That's like yeah just like go to work, stop making excuses and do what you need to do. So yeah, I tried to go on all different angles. I tried to keep it upbeat from the mindset portion opposed to the more solemn piece, which I wasn't avoiding it because I didn't want to go there, but there's enough of that content out there in the men's mental health space where yeah, that's an important piece. I'm going to touch on a different way this month to show like we can celebrate men's mental health. We don't just have to like talk quietly about it because it's a sad thing.
Absolutely. One of the things that I appreciated the most about the way that you went about your content was it people who have a mental illness, if they were watching it, you didn't speak about it through the lens where they would feel like you just didn't get it. Because I know that's a tough line of nuance sometimes is when we're talking about mental illness versus mental health. Sometimes people who don't have a mental illness treat people who have a mental illness like, well, yeah, if you just drank a bit more water and listen to some podcasts, then you'd be better. It's like, okay, yeah, that'd be like saying me going and just doing some more bicep curls is going to heal my current broken arm. Like that doesn't work. Uh, but then the flip side is I'm also proud of how many people who aren't diagnosed mental illness are understanding the importance of positive mental health as well. And I think your content did a very good job of nuancing, hey, if you don't have a mental illness, control the controllables. Here's some, and yes, it was advice you'd give to your younger self, but it was if I was the listener, I could look at the advice you were giving to your younger self and go, yeah, if I execute on some of these or started to adopt some of this perspective, my mental health overall would be better. And then the person with mental illness would see you didn't come from a place of coaching them through their illness. It was, hey, this person's an ally, this person's an advocate, not as much just like, oh, you think you know what I've been through and you're telling me how I need to change it. So, was that intentional or is that subconscious?
No, it definitely was intentional. I'm glad you brought that up because in my delivery, and I do this consciously every day. There's a lot of content I could create, and if people know me in person, I do swear. I try not to ever on social media. I even try not to put songs in the background of my like lifting videos that swear because I coach youth. I coach from 6 years old to 66 years old. But I, as a coach, we wear a lot of hats, we have a lot of roles, but like my main thing, I tell all the parents, I tell the kids this. Outside of safety's number one, when your parents, come on the mats, like they're trusting me. Even when they're there, I'm responsible for your well-being. If you quit judo next year and find gymnastics, swimming, whatever it is, because they're kids, they should do multi-sport and you come back, great. If you never come back, great. But if I can leave you with something that maybe immediately doesn't stick, but 5 years down the road, they go, oh man, that Coach Greg, like he said that one thing to me, or he did this, because that's what my coaches did to me. So yeah, I'm always conscious about how I deliver it, because the pieces that I shared are pieces that I share with my students, because either they weren't told to me at that age, or they were, and in any case they're just good pieces that, like, if you start building that at a young age, like I talk about this lots, this new generation of athletes, like focused athletes, is the level is insane because they have access to content and to other coaches like this. It's not just me. I'm not taking credit that I am the messiah here by any means, but like that is how I try to deliver it, because I do see the impact firsthand 7 days a week when I'm on the mats. So that's definitely a conscious effort that I put towards those videos. And the other side to it, more on like the mindset and the coach side of it and the mental health side of it, is I want to do my best to help people be proactive and be able to understand. And one thing that Rashad, our head sensei, says all the time, good friend of mine, that I've now taken as well, is control your emotions. And we say that not like openly. So kid gets a little bump, or they're mad because they keep losing the game that we're playing, and you can see them bubbling up, their tears are welling up, and it's like, control your emotions. We don't need to scream, we don't need to yell. Control your emotions. And that's us teaching them to be proactive about it and not just letting it bah. Because on the serious side of mental health, on the mental health issue or illness, more often than not, it's like level one trauma. Like, we need to act now or something bad is going to happen. This individual is going to hurt themselves or worse. We need to do it now. But if we can create we can create groups, we can create teams that are super proactive, and individuals at a young age that are proactive about it and are welcome and comfortable talking about it, we will hopefully see the avoidance of needing so much reaction in the mental health space.
Yeah, I love that. I know one of the things that a lot of people might say as well is, well, what's the need for Mental when there's all these other organizations out there probably doing the same thing? Or maybe they're thinking, well, if Mental's already doing it, why should I get involved in a organization or start my own or have a charity event or do this or do that? And uh, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that. I feel like we're probably on the exact same page with it, where I look at something like that and I go, yeah, that works in business when you say, hey, this town of 100,000 people already has 50 coffee shops. So maybe let's not open another coffee shop because the profit and loss and market share might not be there. Or yeah, the real estate agents per capita all doing the exact same thing in the exact same market in this one small town. It's already taken out. But when it comes to something that's more charitable or nonprofit, I would argue two things. I'd say one, that if only 1 million to 2 million men were reached worldwide, then the market share is still wide open and needs to be fulfilled. Two, market share is probably the wrong term, because we're not talking about attracting market share for revenue generation purposes. We're attracting market share for uh, reaching men and making this a commonplace conversation. Uh, and I love what you guys did with that campaign, because I think what that campaign did was it didn't make it just about donate to this cause to support men's mental health. And it's like, well, what does that mean, support? Like, what's the money going towards here? It's more like, no, let's challenge people to get a bit uncomfortable and share some raw, honest thoughts that they have. And I think that discomfort challenged a lot of people to grow. I think it made them feel like they're not alone. It made them feel like they're part of a community. And I think that's the most important part is to me when I look at Mentel, I never really understood it till this month. I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's a community. And if there was 100 other whether it's subgroups of Mentel or competing organizations, it's one of my favorite lines in the 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of World Class is that it says the middle class competes and the world class creates. So to me, I look at Mentel, I go, okay, well, they wouldn't have a competing organization. They would have another organization that does the same thing. And collectively, those two organizations would create and eventually probably collaborate as well to make a bigger difference, change more lives. So back to the initial comment is if someone's out there and they want to make a difference in their community around mental health, should they have any of the areas of concern around, well, other people are already doing it or it's too oversaturated, or maybe comment on that a little bit?
First, it's definitely not oversaturated, and I'm not gonna harp. It's gonna sound like I'm harping, but I'm not gonna say names because you can quickly find out who. One of the biggest mental health groups, organizations, actually, because it is, there's a CEO, did nothing this month. I know that we reached out and they went, "Oh, we're busy this month. Talk to us in July." Okay. And I think they maybe just accepted a collaboration for the first time on a post now that we crossed that post of 1 million. So there's that. Another one created a movement, tried to do a challenge called Suspenders Up. And it was like, wear your suspenders. Apparently, the person who came up with the idea is a blue collar trades guy inside their organization. The There wasn't one picture of an actual trades guy wearing suspenders. The first photo they posted was two guys hugging each other wearing rainbow suspenders, and I'm going to leave it at that. It was it every guy in my and on the collective, that's Chance Burles and Sean Taylor. They had Zach and Sachin Lati. Here's four guys that are in this world. Zach is the founder of Mentel. Sean's a plank holder. Satch is a plank holder. Chance is a plank holder. They're all the original crew. They talked about this, so if you want to find out more, go listen to their podcast. It's very eye-opening. But we were all like, we all texted each other, "What? This is a joke, right?" And then they tried to make it a fundraiser on it too. And here is the issue with fundraising in general, but especially when it's mental health. Where's the money going? Research. Okay, but research on what? On who? On where? So 100 grand, is that gonna, what's that gonna pay? Somebody's salary and the travel. So Mentel, we raise $0. We have zero marketing budget and we don't sell merch. If we do any of those three things, it will be so clear and so defined on where and what it's going to. It'll more than likely be directly to another thing, not the Mentel Foundation, because then it's like, well, where's that? We are a movement, and Zach said it perfectly. When ordinary people come together, extraordinary things happen, and we witnessed that this month. The next step is Mentel and a big group of us, we're going to push to make Men's Mental Health Month a recognized month on the calendar. In the States, in the United States, it is because it stemmed from Mental Health Awareness Week, which is June 12th to 19th, I believe, somewhere around there. But it needs a month. And once it's recognized, then that'll start. But like the first year we did this, it was 50,000 reach. Then it was 500,000 reach. Now it's over 1 million. So there's the real impact because it is helping people be more proactive and also helping with the reactive piece of it too. But there's no blurred lines of what's happening. It's you're seeing the guys do what it is. So yeah, honestly, I looked and it was pretty embarrassing, like what some of these big supposedly number one mental health organizations in our country didn't do because they what they did do was not a whole lot. And there's an issue. At the start of the month, Sean had messaged me, or he put a post on his Instagram. The Canadian government ran a mental health poll, and it closed on like June 5th or something, and it had like 40,000 entries. And Sean went, "Did anybody know about this?" Not one of us went, "No, I just found out about it." And then they're going to post the results of this thing and say, "Well, it's not necessary because you didn't tell anybody you were running this stupid thing."
Yeah.
It may have had great questions in it. I don't know because I didn't see it until it was closed. But like,
Well, and this
there's a
so
lot
this
of smoke and mirrors around this, and it's aggravating.
and this is a whole other topic for a different podcast one time about you look at the role of government. If your role of government is to serve your people, you need to be able to reach your people. So there's tons of people on staff in Ottawa. And for the sake of not offending anybody, we won't argue how many of them are useless and versus useful. We won't go down that hole. But in a lot of the people that I talk to that I know that work there, they argue that a lot of their coworkers aren't crazy useful. We'll just leave it at that. You're telling me that you can't take some of that budget that's allocated for salary and hire a marketing professional, not at 40 grand a year, like actually pay them legit good money, whether it's a team, whether it's individuals, whoever, not a backdoor political contract, like actually hire someone who knows what they're doing to reach Canadians. If you and I can talk about topic X and then it's the only thing that shows up in my algorithm for the next week, you're telling me that with the amount you and I talk about mental health and physical health and financial health, that within 30 seconds that survey could not have been on our phone on Instagram or Facebook as we're scrolling? Like, come on. And if it was really about government, not even just the topic of mental health now, you go down the rabbit hole and it could be on everything. They could get so much feedback from the everyday person so quickly by spending 0.00001% of the overall budget on legitimately good marketing and communication tools to reach their people. If any of their day-to-day operations were actually about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not. But
And the worst part about that is what sucks about having a topic podcast about mental health and then bringing a political realm into it is this podcast is probably going to get more shadow banned than our normal ones, even though it's the one that probably needs the most attention.
uh-huh. Yep. But yeah, we'll leave that where it is because I'll answer your second question on like, people that have seen this momentum and they're fired up right now and they want to do something. Do it zero budget, do it no money raised, do it to bring people together. From day one, Mentel has been a movement. It's a community. That's what we are. That's what it is. And I've seen, and I know they're active all over the place. A really good example is the Foundry in Okotoks. This is a group of men that come together, and it's like men and boys. And the dads bring their boys to the park every whatever, whenever they post on Instagram. Maybe it's weekly. I don't know that to be sure. And they work out and they do speeches. And the young boys have to prepare a speech, so they practice speaking in public and they do this stuff. And it's just a group of guys getting together to create better young men, better men, and to be there for each other. And they talk about the tough things. They have a barbecue. And my friends out on the West Coast have a mental health ruck or walk group. Again, they just have an Instagram group, shared it to their friends, and they keep sharing it out. Hey, Tuesday at 1 p.m., we're meeting at Trailhead X. It's a kilometer. You can walk, you can run, you can bike, bring your dogs. And we're having a walk. I know there's a group that does it in Peterborough, Ontario as well. So if people want to do something meaningful and impactful in the mental health space for men, women, everybody, start a group, a book club, a run club, a walking group. Just hey, we're meeting in the park and playing whatever, multi-sport. We're going to bring some spike ball. We'll bring some frisbees, some footballs, some soccer balls. Bring your kids. We'll meet at Park Allen and we'll have a good time outside in nature. Like that's the stuff that makes the difference because then people are seeing each other and they're laughing and they're playing. And the kid that doesn't have any friends is now embedded in that group because the rest of the dads have all their sons there and they're going to play because kids will play. It's doing things like that that make a difference. It's just, yeah, creating spaces for people to go to that there's no strings attached. There's no money. You don't need to bring $5 for this. You don't need to bring anything. Bring yourself and let's do something.
There's so many people struggling in silence and going through very similar, albeit different, but in a lot of ways similar problems. And they think that they're the only people going through the problems. And one of the biggest things that I appreciate about what you guys are doing here is I look at our podcast. What does a financial advisor and a judo coach have in common? Well, let's take that even further. What does a financial advisor and a judo coach and a teacher and a stay-at-home dad and a welder have in common? Well, guess what? We're men. And as men, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be respected, and we want to be appreciated. And not even really by everyone either, but by at least one community. Why do slow pitch leagues exist? It's not because people love baseball. It's because they like community. Golf didn't get popular through COVID because everybody loves losing a bunch of balls and paying more money than they should for something they're not very good at. They want the community. They want time with the boys. The break from life, the understanding that, oh, I'm not the only one that's going through stuff here. And it's like it's a breath of fresh air. It's the, oh, thank God. Wow. I thought this was just me that's struggling. You're going through something like that too. And in a lot of cases, I mean, obviously, I don't think people are glad that their friends are going through the exact thing that they're going through, but I do think that they're glad that they realize, hey, life happens. Because then it goes from, man, is my life just a string of bad luck to, oh, okay, a lot of other people are going through this too. So now it's a growth opportunity. I just got to figure out how to get through this a little bit more gracefully and get a little bit grittier and figure out how to work harder, figure out how to work smarter and personally grow and uh, do that within a community. And uh, I think a lot of times, Greg, what I love about your advice on creating community and doing things like that is that it's not based on exclusivity around being in a specific profession or being a certain race or gender or being a dad versus not being a dad, or it's just, hey, go be a person in your community that wants to get better and grow your community and live a good life and uh, create more opportunities for people to collaborate around the leaving the world a little bit better than they found it and not sitting in silence struggling. Because I don't know about you, but most people that I know who are struggling are not taking the extra step to get out in their community and meet somebody new or get a different perspective. They're at home, windows closed, and not a ton of opportunity to meet new people and shake new hands and get a perspective other than just what they see on their phone every day. And I think that's one part their fault and their responsibility to figure out, but it's also, I think, two parts the responsibility of us and the communities that we create to let people know that, hey, that's what's out there. You just got to take the first step of courage to go find it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I look at like any community is the right one, right? Like here's a great dichotomy to tail off of like what does a financial advisor, a judo coach, a teacher have in common, right? Like as a side, on the judo mats at any time we have the most, and you could say this about any sport, but I know judo the most intimately. At any times on my judo mats, I have doctors, lawyers, IT professionals, stay-at-home dads, single dads, divorced dads, young kids that are just starting out and still in school, new immigrants. Like you couldn't ask for a more diverse group of like how they think about things. Truck drivers about to do a round with the doctor, but they're on the mats. They're just guys doing a sport or people doing a sport, whatever. But then, right, and it doesn't always need to be sport. Like my brother and his friends, they're Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer 5000, League of Legends, and they do it like every time, like clockwork. If I call my brother, now I can't remember what time of the day, but I know like if I call him on like a Monday at 5, hi, hey, what's up? Oh, are you playing? Yeah, I gotta go. Hangs up. He'll answer just to make sure I don't need anything urgent, but like That's his time. That's his sport for him, right? Like that's his group of boys. They get together, they do their thing, and it's how they connect with each other. It's how they turn off from the world and like focus on just having fun and doing it. And during those games, like they do talk about that stuff too. So, hey, if you listen to this, like, "Ugh, I'm not a martial arts guy. I'm great. Create a video game community. That's why Twitch is a thing. There is a community of people out there that watch people play video games. Not my thing, but that's a thing. So whatever your thing is, like great, do it. Do I advocate that you should have some level of activity and like doing a walk is great? Yes, but it's not necessary when we're talking about mental health. When we're talking about mental health, do the thing that brings you joy. Go to the crochet club, go to the freaking soup club or whatever it is, right? Like cooking class, all of this stuff can be great vessels because it puts you around people that have one thing in common with you. They want to do that thing too.
That was such an important distinction at the end. I go back to this a lot. I remember Alex Hormozy talking on Logan Paul's podcast, and they were talking about how you define discipline. And Hormozy effectively said, "Hey, my personal trainers, when they get up and work out uh, at 5 in the morning, that's not discipline because they enjoy doing it. Discipline would be their clients who hate going to the gym, who wake up at 5 in the morning and they go and do it." So I think when it comes to when you made the distinction around video games or working out or anything like that, I'm not going and playing around at golf because I'm disciplined. I'm doing it for fun or for mental health or call it whatever you want. You're not getting your workout in. Now there's some workouts that are harder than others, but if you just want to go get a quick pump in, you're not doing that because you're disciplined. You're doing that because that's part of who you are and it's fun and there's a community and all those sorts of things. There's a huge difference between what you need to do as an adult to contribute to your community and grow your life versus what you need to do or what you want to do for strengthening your mental health. So just because you love golf, for example, that doesn't mean that I play it 7 days a week and take away from the business that's going to put a roof over the head for my family. So I don't think too many people take advantage of it, but I do think if you hear the message the wrong way, you could become the person that's, hey, I'm going to spend so much time on my mental health that I'm going to spend no time on what it takes to actually contribute to my family or my economy or anything. It's you've got to fill your own cup so you're not pouring from an empty cup. But if all you're doing is filling your cup to the point where your cup is always overflowing and it's never getting poured into anything else, you're just a selfish person. So there is a balance of do the things to fill your cup so that you can then pay it forward and fill other people's cups, but don't do so much of it that you don't have the time to be a good spouse, a good provider, a good friend, a good business owner, a good community member.
Yeah, that's a great distinction you made. So I'm gonna tail off of that. And yes, what I said, I 100% am and in, believe in yeah, video games and all these like whatever your group is. That being said, the other conscious thing behind my content this month, on your point of discipline versus like doing what we like, was that if you pillar your life into I'll go four, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Let's call those the four pillars, the four foundational pillars of your life. If your physical one is made of titanium, that's great. But if then the mental one's here and the spiritual one's non-existent and the emotional one is non-existent, well, you're only as good as your least performing area. So you need to work on those areas. So that's where you need that discipline. So if you're the physical guy that's part of the run club, goes to the gym every day, has a personal trainer, does judo and jujitsu and all of the things, multi-sport league, you're fit, you're top 1%. Good for you. That's sick. I'm going to assume your mental health is probably pretty decent, which is a dangerous thing I just said, but there's a big correlation between being physically fit and like good self-confidence and like knowing you're capable. So there's a line there. But then there's also something to be said if, well, if your emotional is down there, that is pulling your mental health, that's pulling your physical down, that's pulling, so that whatever that lowest pillar is will pull those high ones down until they crumble because the lowest one's crumbling. So, yeah, you need these groups, but also step outside and do something uncomfortable to challenge that. I'm not a very religious person. I took on a challenge through Mayhem, CrossFit Mayhem, which is Rich Froning's gym. They very religious group, and part of the fitness challenge was faith. I read the Bible for the first time because it was like today you read this verse, and like the workouts were like teed around it, and it was really cool and it was really eye opening. And now I can connect with my one athlete who does read the Bible every day. So like that's the thing we do. It's like instead of a motivational quote, it's a Bible verse I've found for him that he's like, oh, that's awesome. So there's like so many nuances to it where, yeah, you have to find things that are good and you like to do and do those often, but you also have to step outside and make sure you're making that foundation level, not wishy-washy. If it's wishy-washy, we need to work here.
So I think a great way to wrap up this episode before we peel into another topic, and we'll record, I think, a little bit more next week as an extension of Men's Mental Health Month, because there's so many ways this can go, and I think the foundation of what you're doing in the performance world and what I'm doing in the financial world is built around mental health anyways. So I think we'll carry this forward for a while, but um, there is such a huge opportunity for people I'm a big believer in seek to understand rather than to be understood. And you don't have to, what you just described to me, Greg, and described to our listeners, is you don't always have to agree with everything about something to understand it. And whether that's faith, whether that's sexuality, whether that's mental health, whether that's, if you don't have a mental illness, you may never understand, or you may never agree with the choices that somebody who has a mental illness makes. But you could do enough research and have enough empathy and compassion to maybe understand where they're coming from. You might not believe that a podcast like this is necessary, where we talk about the world of performance and finances and correlation to overall well-being and health. And you might not agree that that's necessary, but you could seek to understand why we feel that it is. And I think it's harder to hate things once you understand them. So that doesn't mean you have to agree, but if you spent a large portion of your life trying to understand where people are coming from, it would be a lot easier to be less hateful. It'd be a lot easier to just live in bliss that, hey, that person's not coming from a place of ill intent here, or maybe they are, but I now know that hurt people hurt people. And so now you feel bad for them. And maybe you pray that the world wasn't that way, but you accept that it is, and you run your own show and run your own world and do your own thing. And in turn, everything I just talked about positively influences your mental health. But uh, yeah, it's a seek to understand, not to be understood. And like you said there, Greg, the more that you do something, whether you agree with it or not, or whether it's your background or not, uh, the more touch points that you have or experiences that you have where you can now build community, you can build connection, you can be there for people, uh, not if they need you, but when they need you. Because at some
Mhm.
point, as a listener to this show, I hope you guys take away that at some point in your life, there's going to be somebody that needs you. And the question is not if, it's just a matter of when it happens. Are you personally developed enough and emotionally capable enough to answer the bell? Or are you going to be the person that puts the post up on Instagram, uh, says that you're an advocate, says that you're a supporter, but you haven't developed the means and the capacity to handle the call?
I'll add one thing to that to kind of tail off of like what people could do for the mental health space if they're so inclined, they feel like they need to do something outside of if you don't think you have the capacity to start a group or go to a group or do this. And I'm not saying everybody has to be on social media because it's not everybody's thing, but whether it's social media or how you talk to your friends, to people, how you are in one space, be that in every space. If you are active on social media, Don't let people be surprised when they meet you. They should be able to look at your social media, whether you post once a year, once a month, or once a day, or once an hour. And then when they meet you, they go, oh, "You're Coop. I know you." And why I say that is so important in that because then it creates familiarity and they feel like they know you enough to spark a conversation with you. So in every space of your life, be you. There's only one of you on the whole planet. Make it a gift, not a burden to people. And that's one thing every single person listening to this podcast can do in the mental health space.
I love it. Awesome. Hey, I appreciate the conversation today, and we'll continue to carry the torch into next week. And looking forward to seeing what we can drum up.
Absolutely. We'll see you next week, Coop.
See you guys.
Thanks for tuning in this week. If you found value in today's episode, like, subscribe, and share with someone in your circle so they too can build a stronger life and a more resilient future.